All right, so we just here gonna take a look at what is going on in the stock market. You got stuff moving up, you got stuff moving down. So we got a lot of stuff to unpack, starting with the SPY, because this is what rules the direction of most of the stocks. So this is the weekly chart you're looking at, and we have this nice yellow line, and this is the 50 moving average. So you can notice during this uptrend, we have bounces. So anytime the price gets to this area, right, we usually have a nice bounce to the upside. So guess what? We're right back at that same line, and we got a nice little bounce recently from the market. So that shows you this is a reliable indicator that you guys could use. This is the 50 EMA. And you also got the 9 EMA, which has been working for some good amount of time. So just taking a look at the time frame we're looking at, this is 2025 to now. So back in, let's say last year, May, summertime, nice and hot, all the way into the winter time, we was using this EMA to go on up. Notice how we are staying above this line, the blue one, and the price just kept going up. So using this as support helps us stay into trades and know the direction of the entire market. Why the entire market? Because this is the S&P 500, which is made up of 500 companies, and those 500 companies dictate the overall direction, whether we're going up or whether we're going down for most of the stock market. So 3 out of 4 stocks follow the S&P, which is represented by the SPY here on this chart. That's why you want to make sure you know the direction of the SPY. So this 50 EMA is one reason why we are seeing some bullishness in this area. And we got to look at other time frames, because we can only extract so many details of what's happening in the short term from this weekly time frame. So what we are going to do is switch time frame. So we already got the bias that we're moving on up, and then we're just gonna move on down to, let's go to the daily. Sometimes I go straight to the 4-hour, but we're just gonna take our time. Now what you could do as well, which is what I'm gonna actually go back to the weekly, because I forgot a step, a very important one, and this is called charting, right? You want to chart your levels. I'm gonna just use the last candle, which is this red one. So I'm considering this as the range. I'm going to use the bottom and the top, right? That's my support and resistance, aka the range that we are dealing with on the weekly time frame. So now I'm going to go down to the daily chart, and we could see that support and resistance right there. Now we have a boundary that we could use for our analysis. Now, the daily is telling us that we are moving on up, right, from this bottom, and we are above the 9 EMA. So before we was below the 9 EMA for some time. That was a downtrend. Now we are in uptrend territory, but still within the range. So we got to be careful that the price could go up and then come back down. Could go down even further because this is still a downtrend. But we got to be aware that we are above this 9 EMA, which could carry the price on up. And if we do go up, we have targets. All right. We have this top of the range here at about 663, 664. That's a possibility for the highs. And then we also have about 675 as the area where we could reach up to next if we get through these levels. If we happen to go down, we could come back down to, let's see, this candle here is about 638, and then you got 634, and then the ultimate low here, that's about 630 area. So that's that with the SPY. We can also go to the 4-hour and see some short term. Let's give you guys some levels we could potentially day trade. But notice how we are in this downtrend, right? This is a downtrend dictated by these lower highs, and then we are also below this 50 EMA, the yellow line, right? And that's what kept the market moving down. But right? Notice how we was closing below the lows every single time, right? But this low here was created, and guess what? Let's zoom on in. This low here, the price could not close below it. Notice it closed up here, which is the signal of reversal, which is the sign that the market was going to move up. And just by noticing this one clue there could have gave us opportunities to make money towards the upside. Also notice the volume picking up from the previous day. These are all signs of an uptrend. Now we do have this EMA crossover, which is another bullish sign, but we're still in bearish territory in the overall trend. So be careful that this isn't a sign that the market is gonna fully rally. It's just the rally for the short term, which could turn into something long term, right? But we are still in bearish territory due to these lower highs, and we haven't proven ourselves to get above these highs as yet. So we got to be aware that the market could go either way, and even if that's the case, we could still trade because we know our key patterns, key levels, key strategies to use. So we're just going to draw the supply and demand zones in this area. Notice this is a big downtrend. So we're going to start at the top where we have this open candle from the green, and then the high from that red candle, and that's how we draw. And then we also have the demand zones that brought this price up to where we are seeing it now. And this is our supply and demand. All right, this is where the supply was formed, this was where the demand was formed, and this is what I teach in my courses, how to locate and how to draw these, because these are your opportunities to make money. For example, noticing that this was the supply, that's where you want to buy puts, right, or sells if you're trading futures, and that's where you're looking for the market to come down. So we did have a reaction towards the downside, very small reaction. This is low volume, so honestly, even though it did come down a little bit, this is kind of a bullish signal, right? Now this is just one candle, so you gotta let a few candles play out. But what you would expect in a ranging market is the price to come all the way back down to demand, then possibly go all the way back up to supply until it breaks either one. All right, so that is the situation on the forward chart. Going to the 15, we're gonna see what happened today and yesterday after using this level here, which is our support. We're just going to just draw that. Notice the price couldn't close on the support here or there, which is our support reversal pattern that we teach in the Elite Trader course. And this is also a double bottom for people who's just learned how to trade. It's just 2 taps at support, which is a signal that the market could go up. But you got to know the signals, right? The right ones for the entries, because that's going to separate you from being an amateur, a novice, and all the stuff in between versus being a pro, right? So we got to make sure we're tight on every aspect of the game. Our analysis is what we're doing right now. But once you finish this, then we got to get good at actually entering and exiting the trades, doing good risk management, making sure we're following the rules, what we say we're going to do. So those are the things that we focus on later after we learn the stuff that we're doing now. So on this 15-minute chart, we have this area of support being held. These are the highs. So once this range is broken, you could look for the price to move on up to the upside, which is what we got there. Nice little pullback before the breakout, and then you could just ride the EMAs, whether it's the 9 or whether it's the 50, and you can see how we got to that 50, and that was our opportunity today. So this is Tuesday, this is Wednesday. We're gonna just zoom in to Wednesday 15-minute chart and notice how the price got to that 50 EMA. This is market open, so 9:30 is this candle right there. And as soon as the market opened, if you understood, we just bounced off of this 50 EMA during our trend. We also have a range break from this previous situation, which is another bullish sign. So you got not only one, you got two, right? So range break, and then also the 50 EMA, right? This is also overall uptrend. So we want to gather as many clues as we can to give us a high probability decision. And you also got the price action giving you the signals. All right. So price action. So the better you're able to analyze and identify bullish clues versus bearish clues, is the better of a trader and opportunist you'll be, right? Because you also got opportunities at the top here where supply was. Notice how we did close into this area, but then we rejected it and started moving on down, also below this 90 EMA, which determined the short-term trend. And you could just ride that until we reach the next key level. So these are just opportunities to the upside, opportunities to the downside, that shows you no matter if the market is sideways, uncertain, you could use range opportunities like reversals. And if it's trending, then you could use EMA trend continuation opportunities and breakout opportunities as well. So that's it for the overall market. We're going to take a quick look into what's happening with the stocks. You got Apple, Microsoft, Coinbase, AVGO. These are some heavy hitters. Pretty much moving sideways on most of these. These are the 15-minute time frames. You also got Tesla, PLTR, Circle, HIMS. Most of these are moving sideways. Circle had a big move down. HIMS had a big move down. But Tesla is looking the strongest out of all these. I could expect this one to be up in the morning. You do have closes above the previous highs and higher lows, and it's looking stronger than most stocks. So let's take a look at what's happening with Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, Google. After Meta's huge drop, it recovered some of that, and then just pretty much moving up and down. So that's opportunities for traders to make money, honestly, because it's not just moving up and down in a small range. It's having a pretty big move up and a pretty big move down. So similar action on Amazon. Nvidia is pretty much in a range, and Google actually had one of the biggest days. This is the 4 hours. So let's switch to the 15, and it did trend up above this 9 EMA most of the day before having a pullback. Then you got oil, which was pretty sideways today. MicroStrategy, pretty sideways / downtrend. And then you have silver and gold, which are slightly bullish with some sideways action. All right, so looking at the watch list, let's see who was the top gainer. SanDisk up 9%, which is pretty huge for some company that's worth $692 per share. So looking at the 15-minute chart, it has been very bullish. From yesterday, it was at 570. Today, it's at 700. That's a pretty big jump. All right, SanDisk, dealing with chips and all that stuff is pretty important. And Intel, same thing. It must be a chip situation. All right, so Boeing. All right, we got a nice move from them today, 202 to about 210. Eli Lilly, I heard they had some good news, and they actually responded bullish. All right, let's see what else. Lulu, a lot of stocks moving on up. I'm not gonna go through all of them because it's like 80 stocks. And then Nike, it's crazy. They was in the news for some racist stuff, so I don't know if this is a reflection of that, but 53 to 44 in 2 days, not a good look, but they could be setting up for something we don't know. And you're gonna have to look at the bigger chart. Let's look at the quarterly, because wow, this is one of the worst charts I've seen in a while. From 179 down to 44 since 2021, and it's been a straight move down. Well, I don't know what's going on with Nike, but every stock, every company here has a story on the charts and off the charts, and there's a whole lot of perceptions in between that we can uncover in another episode. But there you go. That's today's recap. That's today's analysis, and We do have courses available. We've got beginner, novice, elite, depending on what level of trading you're at. But the whole goal is to dominate, right? And to dominate, you got to know the patterns. And in order to really master the patterns, you got to master the basics. So that's why we have beginner, and we do have one-on-one coaching. And then, of course, the community where I'm giving these live updates. We do have my brother Prince. He's been killing it on SPY recently. $980 profit on SPY puts, and this is XLE calls, 384 on that one. And yeah, this is where we call out the plays. Got the good old watch list, and then we got some news, and then the team chat room, and then a lot of tips and resources here. So we'll be catching you guys in the community tomorrow, and we'll see you guys in the next one.